Oh, there it goes. I just pressed the wrong button.
Okay, you will all be on YouTube, so I'll have to have you all sign a disclaimer, not just press it. Anyway, okay, my name is Rachel Rodriguez, and I'm doing a speech on bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder, which refers to a disturbance in how people feel. It is an emotional, cycled, mental illness. Bipolar disorder is an umbrella term of disorders. It used to be known as a manic disorder. It is a chronic, recurrent illness that should be carefully managed all through a person's lifetime. The diagnosis is frequently unrecognized and untreated in many patients. When the disorder was first diagnosed, it was mostly patients that had a mass cycle of depression. The patients didn't realize the manic stage was part of the disorder. When the patients go through a manic stage, they are the happiest, most excited, and most optimistic people. Bipolar disorder is marked by shifts in mood, energy, and ability to function. There are 3 types of bipolar. Bipolar 1 disorder is a mood disorder that is characterized by at least 1 week-long manic episode that results in excessive activity and energy. In this psychosis, these patients could experience any number of delusions, hallucinations, and dramatically disturbed thoughts. 3 of any of the following constitutes mania: purposeful arousal and movement, dangerous activities such as indiscriminate spending or risky investments, restless sexual encounters, unusual, obsessed with and over-focused on a goal, distraction by environmental events, personal feelings of racing thoughts, excessive talking combined with pressure speech, drastically reduced sleep requirements, inflated sense of self-importance, extreme drive and energy. Mania can be euphoric mania, which is categorized as a wonderful feeling at the beginning, and it turns dark and scary as it progresses towards loss of control and confusion. Dysphoric mania is a mixture of state of agitation or agitated depression with a depressive symptom as an irritable anger, suicide, or hypersexual, and may experience panic attacks, pressured speech, agitation, severe insomnia, and grandiosity, as well as persecutory delusions and confusion. Bipolar 2 disorder, low-level mania, hypomania, alternates with profound depression. Hypomania tends to be euphoric and often increases function. Bipolar 2 disorder does not have the full-blown manic episode that bipolar 1 exhibits. Cyclothymic disorder, cyclothymia, is defined by numerous periods of hypomanic symptoms as well as numerous periods of depression or depressive symptoms cycling for at least 2 years, 1 year in children or adolescents. Although neither set of symptoms constitute a diagnosis of either diagnosis, these episodes are more equivalent to bipolar 2 and not extended into manic. There are also some bipolar symptoms that do not extend into manic, therefore are not diagnosed as bipolar. Some of these people could experience rapid cycling and may have at least 4 episodes in 12-month period. Studies also have been published about the biochemical that is perceived to have a big factor in bipolar disorder. Biochemical and pharmacologic studies lead to catecholamine hypothesis to explain the disorder, particularly mania, presuming that mania is due to an excessive catecholamine and depression is due to a depletion of catecholamines. Epidemiological evidence, particularly studies of concordance in studies of identical and fraternal twins, implies that affective disorders can be inherited. Norepinephrine has been implicated mainly because of abnormalities linked with depression, including its modulation by tricyclic antidepressant, TCAs. Besides norepinephrine, dopamine has been implicated because the dopamine precursor, L-DOPA, amphetamines, and TCAs often produce hypomania in bipolar patients, antipsychotic medication that selective block dopamine receptors are effective against severe mania. There can be a prevalent number of drugs that can be used for bipolar disorder due to the different degrees that a patient can experience symptoms and complexity of the mania the patient experiences. The patient has or can be on anticonvulsants that deal a lot more with the mania part of the condition. If your bipolarity goes farther than regular drugs, they are switched to manic mood, and patients need to be consistently stabilized with lithium. But lithium is used for bipolar 1 that experience mania without stability except on lithium. But lithium has to be controlled so carefully by blood tests. In summary of this information of the brain, there is a certain equilibrium of all the neurotransmitters to create and use the organic chemicals in the blood and body to control and equally distribute for the mind to be in the correct state of well-being. In a TED Talk video with Laura Bain, Living with Bipolar 2 was a realistic view of bipolarism. When she was going through a manic stage, it was like summer. Everything was bright, warm, and the world was full of hope. She had so much energy, new good thoughts would come to her. The world was a beautiful place, and she was happy to be part of it. When she would go through her depressive symptoms, her world would go into a winter state. It would get colder and darker. She would go into each state for about 2 weeks from high to low. It was hard for her to understand what was going on with her emotions. She didn't understand the reasoning behind her feelings. People without bipolar get emotional about characteristics in their life. People with bipolar go through their uncontrollable emotion states regardless of changes in their environment. Seeking a psychiatric help her figure out her emotions, the psychiatrist prescribed medication and started counseling. She will always have bipolar, but now she will be able to control it with counseling and medication. Another video about a bipolar girl stated the best way to explain the disease was there is a person on a boat holding an anchor in one hand and a kite in the other, and they must stay balanced. It seems very hard to explain any mental state to the point that people can understand because they can't feel it. She also said that she was at a state of indifference before she got diagnosed. Her description of the state of indifference was she just could not get herself to feel emotion. She didn't know the emotion she was supposed to feel. She would tell herself since her friend is sad, she should look sad and say something uplifting. When her friend was making a joke, she told herself to smile. She lost her friends, her job, but her family started helping her when they figured out what was wrong. There is a medical epidemic that is known as mental health. The DSM is how the medical field can diagnose these emotional brain instabilities. A heart, although very complicated in muscle and function, it's easier to diagnose medically because you take a medication and it corrects. The brain takes 3 to 6 weeks for any medication to reach a therapeutic level of mental stability to see if the medication is going to actually help. If not, try this medication for 3 to 6 weeks and hope for the best. One of the women said, "Don't lose hope," and truly don't, but I can see why mental health is such an epidemic. In the end of Lauren's speech, she asked if she is going to have to hide because of her mental illness. I hope not. No one should be prejudged by their mental illness. I wish there was a lot more funding and help for the mental health disorders.